We're going live, guys.
Something goes if one person tells me we should bring John Brown back. I'm blocking you.
Well, that'll be an interesting conversation.
Yes, it will.
Yep. Okay, so we are live.
Yes.
Large and in charge. So here we are. Sweet. Welcome to Gameday716. Episode number. We are professionals at this. So you'll, for all of our new viewers, you'll see what's going on, how we work, what we do, all of that fun jazz. And we're just a fun group to hang out with. So you will be here and you will listen because we have a lot to say. We have a lot to talk about. You will like it. If you've never been to our site, you can't see it on my shirt, but or behind my computer, and I'm not going to do one of these things. So Gameday716.com. If you want to order merchandise, just let us know. And from there, today we have sitting next to me my son Noah. We have the ultra bearded one in Game Day CJ.
And, the ultra bearded one, I love it.
And we have Paul, who goes by officially P Dubs, my partner in baldness.
Yes.
And so here we are going. Today was a very important day for the Bills. So with that in mind, we're going to talk about important days. So birthdays. No, I'm just kidding. Christmas. No, okay. I just killed the joke. Anyway.
Today was the birth of the 2021-2022 NFL roster for the Buffalo Bills.
That's a wonderful way to go about doing that and saving me. I appreciate that.
Partners in baldness. We got to stick together, man.
Yes. So yeah. So not a ton of surprises with the Bills cuts. Maybe one or two, do we think? I don't know.
I don't know that I would really call anything a surprise.
I think let's
There is one. We got to talk about this first and foremost.
We will. We'll get
Bobby
there.
Hart.
Yeah. I mean, after his performance, he was. I thought he was a lock. When we talked last week, we all said he was a lock.
Yeah, I thought he was taking over Dawkins.
I thought they were going to cut Dion and just eat all the dead money and slide him over the left tackle.
It made sense when you thought about it, but then you
thought about it.
You thought about it. Yeah.
You thought about it.
Play.
Yeah.
I think Melissa Joan Hart has a better chance than Bobby Hart has in this roster.
That's fair. That's fair. So last week when we talked roster, right? We talked about the Bills carrying 7 defensive ends. And Brandon Bean, our genius and savior, fixed that issue. He fixed the problem by trading Darryl Johnson to Carolina for a 2022 6th round pick. How do we feel about that?
Drafted him in the 7th, right? Got a couple of years of production out of him.
Yeah, good special teams player, right?
Yep. And I would think that from a special teams perspective, you could teach someone to be the next Bam Johnson from a special teams perspective.
Yeah.
And I think that he wasn't that much better than any of the other DNs on the roster. It made sense. Get something for him because I think he was going to be he was going to be a roster casualty regardless.
Yeah, I'll give you that. Well, except for we said he wouldn't be.
Yeah, we yeah, we kind of
looking backwards, it looks really smart and that kind of thing. But we did say that he would make the roster.
Yeah,
but at the time he was still on the team, so he did not make the roster today. I assume he made Carolina's, right? Because if they cut him, maybe the Bills bring him back once they make some other
it'd
moves.
be really foolish of them to trade for him and then release him and not bring him to the 53.
I don't know. I mean, we can talk about, actually, we can hop right into a player who got signed like 3 days ago and was cut by the Vikings, and Everson Griffin. There was a little bit of hoopla and hollering about him coming back and going home and all this kind of stuff. And then the Vikings come out and say, no, thanks. We'll see you later. So you never know. You just never know what teams are going to do. So I believe Noah's looking for that now. I think
he didn't make it.
He did?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, he made it. So go Bam.
For him. Good for him. I'm a Bam fan.
Bam fan. Now let's just hope he doesn't turn into a mega all-pro like
Wyatt Teller.
Like Wyatt Teller, because I mean Wyatt Teller is one of Bean's mistakes, right?
Oh,
do we agree with that?
Wyatt Teller,
yeah. But did any of us think that Wyatt Teller was better than any of our starting guards?
I didn't know.
Now I'm like, oh my God, we're idiots. But I mean, at the time, nothing screamed that, hey, you get rid of this guy, you're going to regret it in a year. There was nothing, nobody brought it up there. I challenge anyone in Buffalo media to be like, I completely called the Wyatt Teller thing. And nobody did. Like,
that's true.
It just didn't appear that way. Good for him and good for the Browns. But I'll give that one to Bean. Like, here's an L for you.
Oh,
but
yeah.
He's got W's mounted across his living room right now. So
yeah,
I think he can handle one room. L. Yeah.
And man cave.
He actually made room in his man cave. Rumor has it. My sources are saying, at least, for more W's in the man cave. Yeah.
All he needs is just 17 on the wall, and that's enough W's for a lifetime, right?
Yes, I like that.
So all right, so let's talk about some interesting cuts first, and some interesting guys who ended up making it because of those cuts. And then I think we're all on the same page. This is sort of across Bill's Twitter, Bill's Facebook, Bill's people who talk to each other actually face to face, that kind of thing, in the sense that they're going to make some moves with some injured players. They just can't do it yet because of the injury timelines and that kind of thing. So we'll get into those as well. But let's start with the cuts. So we already went through Bobby Hart, who's a huge loss, but I'm not going to go through them. Maybe I just should. Okay, so here are the ones that actually matter. So Jack Anderson was a draft pick, right?
Yes.
Sixth or seventh or something. Yeah. So we can assume he's probably coming back to the practice squad.
I would imagine so. I think he'll clear waivers. I don't think he showed enough for anybody to pick him up on the 53. And from what I know, I believe if another team were to claim him on waivers, they have to pay him at least 3 weekly game checks and have him on the 53. Now they could release him right away, but he still owed those 3 weeks worth of game checks. Right. So you're committing to at least 3 weeks of pay on a player if you sign him through waivers. Being that that's the threshold, I don't see anyone paying 3 weeks worth of salary to get him on the squad in the 53. I don't see it.
I'm with you. So Tight end Nate Becker. CJ, your thoughts?
I
We always go to you for the tight end stuff.
know. I wasn't. I don't know. I thought he did okay, but I just, like a lot of these guys, I think the three preseason games has a lot to do with like the way I view this, because had he been given maybe another game or whatever, maybe they could have showed enough to make the cut. But unfortunately, in just those 3 games, there was nothing really that showed anything spectacular about him specifically. Hollister, on the other hand, I think will be kept on the practice squad or brought back somehow, maybe. But
yeah, I think we think he's one of the ones they'll bring back through injury.
And he won't hit waivers, right? Anyone that has at least 4 accrued seasons, they're not going to hit waivers traditionally. So someone like Hollister, it's just like Bean probably approached him and was like, yo, like we got some roster moves to make tomorrow. You're going to be on the 53. Today you're not. Tomorrow you will be. And we'll give you 50,000, or they'll give him some like signing, but they'll do something to make him feel good about it. But I think he's a lock to come back as tight end 3. Actually, he might be tight end 2, because I think I would prefer him to Tommy Sweeney.
I mean, isn't Sweeney hurt right now also?
Sweeney is hurt. Yeah.
So aren't they, wouldn't you think that they're going to bring somebody in, or no?
I would think so. I actually thought
Zach
they
Ertz wasn't cut today, so
I actually so he may be eventually, because Philly is now carrying 4 tight ends because of former UB product. Tyree Jackson made the team.
I'm stoked
as
for
a
that,
tight
by the
end.
way. Good for him.
As a tight end.
He made it as a tight end.
6'7". He looks ripped. And
Is that
he
the
looked-
quarterback?
He
Was that
looked
the
good in the
quarterback?
preseason.
Yep,
wide
their
receiver?
former
Okay.
quarterback.
All right.
He's good hands.
He's got the Logan Thomas thing going on.
I was going to say some of them just they're athletic,
And that's what
really all you
the
need.
Eagles have been saying, was that he had an amazing camp, an amazing off season, and then he played fantastic throughout their preseason. So
That's cool.
they said they just couldn't let him go.
You know who else is a former quarterback turned tight end, right?
Logan Thomas.
Dawson Knox.
Yes. Yes, he is. That's true.
Yep.
I might prefer Tyree Jackson.
I
Yeah.
don't hate you for that take.
Well, I will say
Yeah.
this: in the last preseason game, Knox looked pretty good.
Yeah.
In the last preseason game, I do wonder though how much the actual preseason games played into these cuts. I mean, probably the final 10 players.
Yeah.
And everyone else was a lock.
Yeah.
Right. So there were some up and down kind of things. Let's get through these guys who got released, and then we'll come back to some of them, or we'll just keep talking this way. I think Brandon Bryant is, I guess this goes in alphabetical order based on the Bills website. Brandon Bryant, defensive tackle. I think, in my opinion, I think they want to bring him back to the practice squad. That's just what I sort of heard when I've been looking around at certain things about guys who they would be cutting and maybe want to bring back, that he is kind of on their list.
Does the Phillips injury change keeping Butler, do you think, or what?
I think Butler will be off the roster after a month.
Well, I'm saying
That's a hot take.
because of Phillips being hurt. I mean, I'm thinking they kept Butler for that reason.
Phillips will probably be put on IR tomorrow so that he could be put on short term, which is
3 weeks,
I believe. Yeah, before he'll be eligible. And then I think that when he comes back, Vernon Butler's just keeping his spot warm, because I think you're going to keep Oliver, Starr, Harrison Phillips, and Justin Zimmer as your DTs.
Yeah, Zimmer played off the wall.
Five is overkill. I think Butler's on the roster just because they know Phillips is going to short-term IR tomorrow.
Okay.
I don't know if it's overkill, especially since they released Johnson, right? Because we were having this conversation and last week, right? And in the end, we came down to 11 defensive linemen, right?
We had 7 DEs and 4 tackles.
Right. And so if they carry 6 DEs and 5 D tackles, it's still the same. And it just changes your type of rotation. Right. And I think Butler showed, if anything, he can play both spots, at least at an average level.
Yeah.
And they do love their guys who can do more than one thing.
Yeah, I mean, he is
They
6'4",
do.
330.
He's also
They also-
330 pounds, to Noah's point, you know?
They also
So-
have F.A. Obata and Boogie Basham who could play inside. So
Yes.
I don't
Yeah,
I
we
don't know
talked
that
about
you need
that.
5 DTs. Yeah.
You know,
It'll be
but
interesting.
I
I
think
think
there
you have a
will-
little bit of flexibility there.
Yeah, I think there will be times when we see 4 defensive ends on the line
Mhm.
at the same time.
Oh yeah.
God, the speed.
And I think that will be a lot of fun. Whether even if
Yeah.
they move Epinesa inside,
well, you could put
or Basham, like we said, Obata. Yeah, I mean, you could put all of the young guys, right? Or Obata's not really young, but like Obata, Basham, Rousseau, and Epinesa, all playing along the line when you need a burst,
Yeah.
or something like that. I think that could be a lot of fun. But I back to Brandon Bryant, since we're on the bees, we're
Bees.
moving along. We from what I've heard, he's a practice squad candidate, right? Because they're allowed to keep 16.
Mhm. Yep.
Yeah, so they're allowed to keep 16, and then they have to protect 4 every game.
And they can call up 2 every game.
Right.
And
Right.
of those 16, the only limitations are up to 4 players per team who have earned no more than 2 accrued seasons. And you can only have up to 6 per team with no limitations as to the number of accrued seasons. So those would be your low-cost vets that you want to keep around that aren't going to hit waivers, but you want to keep on the practice squad. You're allowed up to 6 of those. So 6 of those, 4 of the players that have less than 2 years, and then the other 6 would primarily be your rookies and second-year guys.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So I have a question, and this just kind of popped into my head, but no, I know you haven't spoken much, so I'll ask you this one. Do you think that the trade of Bam Johnson says anything about their thoughts on Mike Love?
I think maybe if Mike Love's placed on a practice squad again, it does. But I mean, we didn't see him play much, or if at all, when he was out there. So I don't think so. I think it just had to do with.
I mean, he
they
was
didn't
on the
wanna-
53 man a couple times last year.
Yeah, but it wasn't anything consistent from what I remember. I mean, he was only there because of injuries and stuff, and
Right.
so I mean, I don't know. I mean, if he's placed in the practice squad, maybe, because maybe they did want to cut Johnson, but they knew he wouldn't make it to the practice squad, so they wanted to get something for him.
Yeah. I mean, you're not going to get anything from Mike Love, right?
Right.
But they may love him.
Maybe.
All right, guys. Any thoughts from you guys on that? Or is that just kind of a not really?
I think that
ahead.
CJ, you take it. You take it.
Oh, I mean, I don't know. I think with so many defensive ends, obviously one of them is going to have to be inactive every week, right? So, I mean, I don't know how that really plays into Mike Love at all, but I don't know. I just didn't see him on the field very much, kind of like Noah said, and I don't know if they're just going to move on, or I guess we'll see what happens if he gets picked up for the practice squad or not.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
It'll be interesting to see if they bring him to the practice squad. I'm not sold on it, and here's why. I
They're
don't know
deep.
that as a D end he can even scratch the surface of what the 6 or 7 guys ahead of him can do, and he doesn't bring anything to the table. Like, I don't recall seeing him playing much special teams, and if he did, he didn't flash at all. So like where Bam had that, right? Like Bam had the fact that he was a special teams ace to keep him on the roster because it allowed him to kind of grow into a role as a D end as well. But he was primarily used as a special teams player. You don't have that with Mike Love, at least not that we've seen. And I don't think that he's the same type of player special teams wise. So I personally don't see Mike Love come into the practice squad, but with 16 spots again this year, it's possible because I mean, years gone by, we were at 10 and then there was a plan to get to 12 and then to 14. And they just bypassed all that because of COVID. And now we have, what we got going on now. So I think with 16 spots, it's possible. If we only had 10 spots, I'd say absolutely not. Mike Love isn't making the practice squad. Right. But with 16, it's plausible.
Yeah, sounds good.
I think one of the, besides Johnson not being able to make it, but I think like another reason they traded him was because I think they saw what they had in Rousseau and
Basham.
Not Basham. And I think that Rousseau and Basham were just,
and Obata probably.
Well, yeah, I think Obata probably did play in it, but I think when you have three young guys where only one can kind of do one thing, but the other two can play inside, play outside, and both looked good, where one looked a lot better than the other. But, you know, we saw a consistent improvement from Basham, and then Rousseau just looked good from the beginning, mostly. So,
definitely. His first play was a 6 foot.
Yeah.
I'm going to tap you on the head and sack you.
So, I mean, I think the Bills were just in a tough situation with Johnson because I don't think they wanted him on the roster.
You know, you make a good point about that in that Rousseau and Johnson. Johnson was a very poor man's Rousseau, maybe, just in the sense of their length and that kind of thing, you know, whereas Basham and Obata are very similar. But I think they just want to get Rousseau on the field. I think, you know, and I think that made Bam expendable more than anything else.
Yeah. I mean, I think you had two young guys that you drafted that look like they're not starters, but they look like they can come in and just immediately be in the rotation.
Rousseau might start.
I don't think so.
He might. They said they have a quote unquote special.
I can see
role.
third down.
They said they have a special role for Addison this year. So that I think he's not starting.
I think we're going to see Addison. Here's my hot take for the Bills' defensive line rotation.
Speaking Addison of guys will have move inside. Is Addison's another one?
Addison will have the fourth highest snaps of any of the D ends on the roster. I think Rousseau, AJ Epinesa, and Jerry Hughes will all have more snaps than Addison by the end of the season.
Okay, I forget about Epinesa all the time, so he'll probably be the starter opposite Hughes, right?
I think
it's gonna be tough.
The problem is you don't know how comfortable they are with Rousseau because, like, yeah, Rousseau did all these cool things in the game, but they could also be like, you lined up wrong here. You know, you used the wrong hand placement. You shouldn't have gotten that penalty. So they could be like hesitant, but like,
or they could be like, you're a freak. Get on the field and do
keep in mind,
whatever you want.
They gave Rousseau the start in preseason game 3.
Yep,
that's true.
They didn't in weeks 1 and 2.
Rotate Rousseau and Epinesa just all game.
Yeah,
and just keep Jerry on his side,
or just. Oh, there's so many options. I think that, you know, we could sit here and just play checkers.
We could have a whole
day,
show
right?
about defensive line play. Yeah.
Yeah,
literally just a defensive line.
Yeah. So let's move on. So Jamil Douglas and Jordan Devy were cut. No big loss, right? Reed Ferguson was cut. We think they'll probably bring him back as long as he's healthy.
Yeah.
Yes. Sal was told that he'd absolutely be coming back. So expect that move to happen tomorrow.
Okay.
Sal released his 53-man roster spreadsheet, and he actually put 54 players on it. That's how confident he is that Reed is coming back tomorrow. So it's as close to a done deal as you can possibly get.
Okay.
Yeah,
so next guy, Jake Fromm, and let's throw Davis Webb in this mix to say which one's making it.
Davis Webb is going to hit the practice squad. I don't think that Fromm has any chance after the throw to Stevenson in, what was it, week 1? And then Just the way I have a feeling he's going to latch on as somebody's QB3. I don't know why. I have a sneaky feeling that he's going to latch on to someone. I think that Davis Webb has no shot of hitting another roster, which is good.
I was initially thinking that the Falcons would be smart to pick him up for, advertisement marketing reasons, right? Because he's a Georgia boy and all that stuff, right?
For all that
Yeah, that could work.
But they kept Josh Rosen.
Yeah, that's not happening now.
But they have really. Oh no, that was Green Bay. I thought Ben Kurt was on the Falcons. He went to Green Bay and then got cut from them too.
Yeah. Because he was awesome against the Bills, Ben Kurt.
So
hey, maybe he goes to New England. Back up.
Oh, we'll get there.
There's only one quarterback in New England right now.
No, Hoyer is there, right?
They cut him.
He was released.
They cut Hoyer?
Yeah, they got one quarterback on the roster.
What about the other guy?
What other guy?
The guy who was
from last year.
Supposed to be the starter last year.
Oh, Stidham.
Yeah.
Does
they
he
must
count,
still
though?
have him.
He's still there.
He's got to be there. I didn't hear about Stidham being released. I just can't see them going with a rookie and Stidham. Like that just.
Yeah.
They might be in on the front.
Belichick's.
It was. I was going to say up until 2 weeks into the season last year, it was Stidham and nobody else, and they seemed pretty happy with that.
So he's out for the first 6 weeks. So
he's on the
wow.
Just Mac Jones.
Wow, that's faith.
Confidence.
Yep,
that's right.
Well, it could be a move to maybe they cut Cam to re-sign him.
No, Cam's message today indicated that like he's moving on just as much as they are.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of his fault anyways, but
yeah, we'll swing back to Cam. So let's stick with the
quarterbacks. So is it safe to assume that Allen is fully vaccinated then, since we only kept 2 quarterbacks?
1,000%. I am 1,000% that Allen is vaccinated. I guarantee you that was a prerequisite for that contract. There ain't no way in hell.
Well, that and you don't keep 2 guys.
Million. Yeah.
Okay.
And during all his pressers, he's not wearing a mask. He's 100% vaccinated.
Okay.
He might not want to say it because he doesn't want to.
Well, they haven't come out with anything yet. That's why I said assume it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's a safe assumption that Allen's vaccinated.
Okay. So Tanner Gentry got cut. They're bringing him back to the practice squad. I've heard that multiple sources.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's just the Wyoming connection and they want to keep Josh happy through 2028. But Tanner Gentry is on the practice squad until 2028. But I saw nothing from Tanner Gentry that made me go, he's an NFL wide receiver, but apparently the Bills do. So Giles Harris, we assume they're bringing him back.
I think he flashed enough that if he clears waivers, I think, well, how many years has he been in the league?
1, I think.
Then yeah, he'll I don't know. He should clear waivers though. I can't see.
2?
2 years. Yep. So I don't see him. So he would fall into the category of that additional 4. So you have your 6 rookie first year guys, and you got your second year guys that you can get like 4 of them on there. And then, okay. So yeah, I could see Giles Harris making the practice squad.
6 linebackers though.
Yeah, we're going to get to that too. They're not carrying 7. They're putting the 7th on the practice squad. So,
I thought you meant sign him to the roster.
No,
I
practice
think
squad.
he'll go to the practice squad.
Okay. Elijah Griffin, Warren G's.
That you never knew the G stood for Griffin. Never put it
I was
together
about to
until
put this
right
together.
before the show.
No, not before the show.
Oh my God, I'm just putting it together now.
That the G in Warren G stood for Griffin, right?
Wow, I'm dumb.
Me? Okay, I'm not the only one.
I know, yeah.
That's remarkable.
I couldn't. Did he flash enough? What did we think about him? Is he just sort of?
There were a couple plays. I took a couple notes in the preseason that like his name came up for me a couple times as I was taking notes, and it wasn't anything crazy that was going to crack the 53-man roster.
Right.
But I want to see them try to groom this kid and see if they could turn him into something. He
So here's
you're going to have
question,
questions
though.
at corner in future years. So we got.
Here's the question. Here's the question though. They cut Griffin, Cam Lewis, Nick McLeod, and Rashad Wildgoose.
Cam ain't making it through waivers.
Here's the thing.
Can't. Well, go ahead, Noah.
I think this practice squad is going to be dominated heavily by athletes. They're going to bring in like a lot of DBs maybe and like really athletic linebackers and linemen. But like we're not going to see them put like a stereotypical D tackle there. I think they might have 3 cornerbacks on there and a safety because I think that they think that the guys that they have at quarterback do get injured pretty often.
They do.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
Wallace,
'Cause
Jackson, Teron Johnson, Saran
They ask
Neal,
guys to be
all those
very
guys
physical.
have had injuries consistently every single year.
Yeah.
So I think even
That's a good point, Paul, about asking him to be physical.
even though
Part of it.
Griffin, he didn't look great, but like if you really needed to, I mean, they pulled it out of Dane Jackson. They might be able to pull it out of Griffin. They might be able to pull it out of Wild Goose. So like, I have a feeling a lot of those guys like Wild Goose, McLeod, Griffin, maybe even somebody that got cut today who's like in that same vein as they are, they might have a bunch of those guys on the practice squad.
Yeah.
Like maybe 8, maybe half the practice squad.
Like a
is just
young
these
Saran
guys.
Neal who's
Yeah.
out there somewhere.
Just like these athletic freaks, because like if God forbid Trey goes down,
right.
like you're gonna need, you're
Well, that's the biggest concern I have of the entire season at any position with any player is Trey White.
Yeah.
If he goes down, totally different defense. You have to redo everything.
right, which is
Here's
not
the
good
question,
because
though.
you're gonna have less DBs on the field. Probably you're probably gonna have more focus on getting the quarterback pressure. So you're gonna want guys who can get to the quarterback. You're gonna want guys who can
Yes.
come from the DB position down and get that speed.
Saran
And
Neal.
they did that with Griffin, and they did that with McLeod too.
Yeah.
So
And they did that with Wild Goose too.
and
Actually,
Josh Thomas.
I
Yep.
think it's gonna the Trey White going down and being injured thing it's a huge deal if our pass rush is not improved from 2020. It's not as big of a deal. We could survive for a few weeks without Trey if our pass rush can get home, because then you're making it a little easier on the guys in the back. And can I trust Dane Jackson and Levi Wallace as CB1 and 2 in limited snaps in limited weeks? I think I can if the pass rush is helping them out a little bit. I don't think that we'd be like, are we going to get down 28 points in a game because we don't have Trey? Like I don't know that we would. I think our offense can keep us in every game. So like, if Trey goes down, I'm not thinking season over. I'm thinking, it's going to be a little bit harder on defense, but our offense carries the weight now.
Yeah, TJ, what do you think?
yeah, where are you with that?
Clearly not where I'm at.
No, I'm just thinking, I'm just hearing everything and just thinking, yeah, I think Tre'Davious White is a huge part of the defense. So if he's lost to anything more than a 3 or 4 week injury, yeah, the whole thing needs to be readjusted. The whole defense would change.
So if let's say it's a short-term thing, do you think that they can make do with what they have
Yeah.
at corner? If
Yeah,
it's
I think-
like, hey,
I mean, it depends on
he's
where
got
in
a
this
Well,
schedule
maybe-
it is,
hamstring, he's
right?
got
It
like 2
depends
weeks.
yeah,
mean,
Right.
if we're
What I
facing
thought
Jones,
about when you
get
said
screwed.
you
Yeah.
said injury, I thought long term, and so I thought
yeah, like
playoffs.
Well, that's
right?
what I was
And
thinking.
So,
yeah.
well, right, and so I thought playoffs, and when I thought playoffs and not having him in the playoffs, I don't know if I
They
just
could
don't know if
beat
we're
Mac
as strong of a
Jones.
team. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if we're as strong as a team. You know what I mean? I don't know if we can get by those harder teams if he's not out there. Now, a 3-4 week midseason injury, I think we'll handle that just fine. We probably even go 3 out of 4 depending on schedule. You know what I mean? With him gone for those 3-4 weeks, we probably have a winning schedule. But that's not to say that the same thing would happen in the playoffs if he wasn't there. You know, I don't
I
think
agree.
we would go as deep.
I think the playoffs would be a completely different beast if he gets hurt and it affects that at all. But again, like we were very, very high on Dane Jackson exiting last year. Now he's not Trey White. He's not Trey White, and neither is Levi Wallace. But I think Levi Wallace and Dane Jackson could be starting corners on almost any team in the league. And the fact that we have Trey White is
I don't think Dane Jackson could be a starter on most teams.
You don't think Dane Jackson could take over for, say,
Sidney Jones.
I don't even know who Sidney Jones is.
Exactly. But he's the fourth
Does he-
cornerback on Seattle right now.
No, he said starter.
No.
It's top 2, right?
That's top
It would be
Top
So
two.
top
don't give
three
me Sidney
technically.
Jones.
Oh,
because
okay. He's getting the
depending-
3rd. All right. Well, 3 then. Yeah, I could see
You
that.
could get a nickel corner in there. Don't skip me on the nickel corner.
All right, if you're putting him in nickel, maybe, but then you're putting Saron Neal at corner or nickel.
I mean,
Would you take
here's the other
Saron Neal at
reason
corner or
why-
Dane
I would prefer Neal.
Saron
I love Neil.
Yeah, Neal's really
as
good.
corner?
I watched him
Yeah.
at that game the other day. Oh my god, dude.
I like him inside. I'm not sold on
He
on
can't
Neal
do it outside
playing
because he's going to
outside.
get burned.
No,
No,
I,
yeah,
I think
he was
can play
playing
outside.
he was playing so off coverage because of that fear.
Yeah,
Like,
I
I
think
think,
nickel
like-
for sure, but yeah,
Well, then you
I
move
could see
Teron
him
Johnson
inside.
outside.
yeah. I think
I would
Toronto
trust
have a better
Sharon
time.
Johnson outside.
Yeah.
But I think the other reason also why you're keeping these young guys is if this does happen, this doomsday scenario that we're talking about.
Doomsday. This is saying one player goes.
It is doomsday though. I don't
It's
know.
pretty much doomsday.
He's one of my favorite players, if not my favorite
Yeah.
player.
Yeah.
At bare minimum, these guys know the defense.
Yeah.
Right.
So like even though like Richard Sherman might be out
They
there,
know where they're supposed to be.
right.
So what you're saying is instead of signing Richard Sherman,
Well,
maybe no. Hold on. No, and no, I'm not blasting you. I'm not putting you on blast for this. I'm actually making a point. A good point. It's a good point. So you all agree. So instead of signing Richard Sherman, they should go out and sign someone who knows Leslie Frazier's defense.
yeah.
Right?
Yeah, because I mean like Richard Sherman's a bad example. Because like I think like Richard Sherman could probably step into any team in the league and like be like I'm good. So
Yeah.
like I'm just gonna play my
But to your
position.
athletic point, he's not running into the box and making a tackle for a 2-yard
Absolutely.
loss.
No,
He's
anymore.
not going to do that.
no.
So
no.
that like Richard Sherman's off the table for me just because he lacks the physicality at this stage in his career to play in a McDermott defense. Like we just talked about.
I don't know that
His
Dane
corners need to be
Jackson has
physical.
that physicality. That's the one thing that I've lacked on Dane Jackson is his physicality, and maybe I just have missed it, and everyone else has seen it. But that's the one piece. Like Levi, I've seen it. I think he's good enough. He's good enough. Obviously you see it with Trey. Obviously, actually we saw it a lot with all of these guys who just got cut. Dean Jackson's always and Teron Johnson is a hitter. Saron Neal's a hitter. It's just Dane's the only one who like puts me on edge a little bit. I don't know why, but
I mean, well, like I said, I mean Richard Sherman is a bad example because I mean, like I said, I mean I really think he's still a very good defensive back, but like I don't think you're gonna go. Like I don't see the Bills going out to sign somebody who like is maybe like a 76 overall on Madden, like average, just like an average DB when they could just go to their practice squad and get somebody who already knows the defense, already knows where they're supposed to line up. Okay, yeah, maybe they can't cover the third wide receiver, but he can at least hang in there with their fourth. So like he doesn't have to play that much, but he can come in at least for a series or maybe a couple plays to give Teron Johnson a breather, to give Saron Neal a breather, where you could get him in there for those short spurts while you're waiting for Trey to come back.
okay. So of the four, Griffin, Cam Lewis, Wild Goose, or McLeod, who is it? Is it Cam?
Well, I think Cam's going to come back when they do the moves.
If he clears waivers.
I don't think he's going to clear waivers.
That's the
Hasn't he
I think
cleared before?
He
Didn't
put
we
a
leave
lot
him
of
out
good
there and
tape.
and he cleared before?
Yeah, but he looked better this time.
He did
than
look
last
better
year.
this preseason. Last year we didn't have a
Will you be-
preseason, so it was easy to throw somebody, cut somebody before the 53, and they'd clear waivers because there was no good tape on them. Now they have game film of Cam Lewis just balling out.
Balling.
I thought he was going to make the roster. There was part of me that thought it, at least. I wouldn't have been shocked had he made it. I just, Yeah, I don't think Cam Lewis is going to clear waivers, which I
Is he the
think
top
leads us
priority
to
guy
either
then?
Griffin or Wild Goose. And I don't know how I feel
Over
about that.
McLeod?
Over McLeod?
It's tough, right? Because there was a couple plays that McLeod flashed. I would say McLeod over Wild Goose. I don't know that I'm ready to
They
say.
love Wild Goose. From
They-
everything I've read, like from
Trey White also loves Wild Goose too.
Yeah,
yeah.
Trey White also loves himself some Marquez
He loves-
Stevenson.
Yes.
Both Shreveport boys.
Report. Yeah.
They literally used to have
Shreveport.
sleepovers talking about this happening to them as adults, and now they both made it. And I think that's just phenomenal.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Good stories.
You know who else is a quarterback, by the way, while we're spinning around here? Dane Jackson used to play quarterback.
I believe that. I believe that half of the players in the NFL have played quarterback
Play quarterback at some
Yeah.
point.
in high school.
Yeah.
I mean, at least. You
And
know,
then they get told,
I mean,
hey, I'm gonna be real with you. You ain't gonna make it in
Right.
the NFL as a quarterback.
As
and
a
then they switch
quarterback,
positions.
right.
Yeah.
So you're a fantastic athlete. You're going to cornerback or you're going to linebacker
Right.
because you're 6'4", and that kind of thing. So
Tight end.
right, tight end. Or hey Tanner Gentry, it's great that you want to be a quarterback, but we just found Josh Allen, and
So we're gonna roll with that guy. We think he might be
gonna
good.
roll with that. Okay, so it's a roll of the dice with any of these four guys. So I think Noah's maybe on the right track with them hoping Cam clears waivers and then bringing him back after they make some moves. We'll get to those moves a little bit later and then maybe talk a little bit more. So let's talk about, we already talked about Hollister. Let's talk about Isaiah Hodgins. What can we say about Isaiah Hodgins? Practice
You
squad
weren't
or
better
no?
than touchdown. Yeah, he'll go practice squad. He won't. I don't think that he'll get picked up on waivers, but he wasn't better than touchdown Jesus and toe tap Jesus. So
Well,
that
yeah, I mean, but he made the roster. So
who did? Kumaro. You're talking about, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, Kumaro is probably my wide receiver 7. And he's not better. Hodgins didn't show me anything that would give up that spot. You know what I mean? So like
Mhm.
he might be wide receiver 8 though. So next
he's
man
ahead of
up kind
Tanner
mentality.
Gentry.
I mean,
For
he's
sure.
been hurt a lot too, right? So I
Yeah.
think that you bring him
Last
back
season.
on the squad, on the practice
Yeah.
squad, and see
If he stays
what he's
healthy.
got. Yeah, if he plays well enough, okay, throw him in a game or whatever.
If
you
he
know what I mean?
twists his ankle in practice again, maybe you cut your losses. So Markel Lee is an interesting case, only because he's a linebacker and we expected more linebackers to be on this list. Because the Bills kept 6. They kept both Dodson and Andre Smith. So my thought is Andre Smith made himself so indispensable that the Bills said we have to keep him. And they already had it in their head that they love Dodson. They love his athletic ability. I think. I truly think that he's another athletic freak who they just love, and he's see ball, get ball kind of guy. But that I think was a surprise because they've only carried 5 for McDermott's whole tenure, right? I think.
Possibly. No, I think maybe.
Most of the time. We'll go with that. Most of the
Yeah.
time. Yeah. I mean, that's stats for you. Most of the time. That's, that's the kind of stats I bring to the table. But any surprises about them carrying 6?
We talking receiver?
No. Linebackers.
Linebacker 6. I was still stuck on receivers. I was still thinking about touchdown Jesus.
Oh, get over him. Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta get over him. Linebackers, I'm okay with 6 because I know that that Matakevich is probably going to be exclusively special teams. I can't see him really stepping in unless there's an injury. But I can see some situations in which I saw them run 4-3 a couple times in the preseason with Edmonds, Milano, and AJ Klein all on the field at the same time. That
Yep.
could give you some interesting looks from a run defense perspective.
Not pass.
Definitely not
put AJ
pass.
Klein in pass coverage.
Well, we do not. We
Okay,
never
but,
do that.
but if you're the other team then and you see AJ Klein on the field, you're calling a pass,
Okay.
right?
Like you're checking out of it.
Then
Yeah.
AJ Klein is the QB spy.
Even
Even when you're facing Tom Brady.
Could you imagine AJ Klein spying
He's just
Tom
standing
Brady?
there staring at Brady.
Spying Tom Brady.
Who's gonna flinch
His hands
first?
on his hips. Like
Your move, Tom.
We'll see that in the Super Bowl, right? So,
Totally. It's gonna be amazing too because Tom's gonna think for a second, I can outrun this guy.
right.
And they're gonna be
doesn't
the
even have his
slowest
feet
slow
set.
motion.
Look at him.
Right. They're gonna show the replay of the two like running towards each other. Tom Brady running for a first down. AJ Klein running to stop Tom Brady. Everybody's gonna think it's slow motion, but it's real game speed.
It's game speed. Yeah. Anyway, so back to it. I think you raise an interesting point in that I think the 4-3 actually that they came out with that in the third game.
Mhm. Then they have the
Yeah.
starters.
With the starters and Klein, it was the 4-3, and I went, whoa, okay.
Yeah.
And Klein was on the field for those first couple snaps, or that first series, maybe. I don't know. And he played well, I thought.
Mhm.
Right? I mean, you were
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
okay,
he made
AJ
that
Klein can
stop.
still play, right?
Yeah.
And that was enough of AJ Klein to see.
Yeah, I mean, I think he broke up a screen, a wide receiver screen, and then he stopped them on fourth down, I think, or something.
Yeah, he had the fourth down stop, didn't he?
And
Yeah.
then he blew up another running play too.
Yeah.
Because they were like, he just knows how to just go straight. That was like their analysis of like what he did.
Tasker and Catalana,
Yeah.
those geniuses.
They're like he knows just how to move down the line and move through people.
He run good.
And you're like, uh-huh.
Okay, so do we think that it was do we agree that Andre Smith just played himself onto the roster and that's why they carried
yeah.
6?
Yes.
Yeah.
Do we think
Yep.
that Andre Smith is the reason that they traded Bam Johnson?
Maybe.
Did Andre Smith do anything on special teams noteworthy?
Not
He was
anything
on special
noteworthy,
teams,
but he
though.
did play. He played, he stayed in his lane.
He was
From
on
what I-
punt and on kick return, I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure. Maybe.
It's possible that they're
I
like,
mean,
hey, maybe we have something with him special teams wise and as a reserve linebacker. Yeah, he might have played himself into Bam Johnson's role just as a linebacker instead of a D end. I can see that.
Go Andre. All right.
Mike says in the chat that AJ Klein is a sleeper. Just you wait. So I'm gonna hold him to that.
AJ Klein is a sleeper.
Yeah.
I'll jump on board with Mike right now and say the second half of last season gave us a different AJ Klein than what we saw in the
It's
first
so
half
true.
of the season.
It's
Like,
very
it
true.
was two completely different players.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like completely different players. There's a play I can't remember what game it was, but he was decent in coverage in the second half of the season too. Like I
Yeah.
remember him back to the ball, looking over his head and knocking it down.
It was
wouldn't
like
shock
he
me
got
to
a
see
hug
him-
from
I mean,
Leslie Frazier.
You can just
In
And
look
just
at,
like I feel
week
better
9,
now.
and he's like, I'm good to go.
I mean, you can just look at the tweets of when I apologized to AJ Klein. So when that happened,
It was the Dolphins game, right? Where they threw
they threw him on the run game, and he just made like every
like
single
where
stop.
they threw a screen and he just leveled the guy. Or am I just making this up? Like, I don't know.
Sounds like an AJ Klein thing.
Where he just leveled, like, and again, it was just
Mhm.
run, hit the guy because you're like in the area,
Right.
but he just like totally leveled the guy, and that was the end of that guy for that play. But he probably got up.
He
I
died
don't know.
later.
Guy. I love it.
Oh, we're a fun group.
Facts though.
All right. Quentin Morris is going on the practice squad. Is that what you told me?
Yes. Yeah, he beat out. It was between him and Nate Becker, I guess, for that practice squad spot, and they thought Morris did better, which I agree with. Because I mean,
I
Morris.
saw nothing out of Morris.
Yeah, but he was on the field more than Becker was, and Becker.
He was, and Becker had more catches. I think. I don't know.
I don't know. They like
Whatever.
Morris better. I'm not in the room. I'm sorry.
Tight end examiner. What did you think of Quentin Morris?
Let me go to my notes here. 1 second.
You're like
He has tight end notes. That's how we
price
know
line
that CJ is legit.
negotiator. Tight end analyzer.
Quentin Morris.
Yeah, I mean, again,
87.
I didn't see anything out. I didn't see anything out of him, and he's another reason why I felt like they were going to bring somebody else in, because they still need another tight end, in my opinion. But those guys weren't the answer. So
Well, they're gonna. I think in a pinch, and maybe we talked about this last week, but in a pinch, right? They're gonna use the fullback,
Gilliam. That's
Gilliam,
true.
okay.
right?
Oh yeah, Reggie. I forgot about Reggie.
Yeah,
I was
Yeah.
in my head. I'm like fullback.
yeah,
In my heart, he's a tight end now.
yeah. But in real life, he's a fullback because he can actually run the ball, right? So,
Yes.
I don't
Who
know.
can catch
They-
the ball like a tight end.
right?
Oh, that's interesting.
He's
yeah.
an athlete.
Could you imagine him lining up at fullback in I formation and then like
Yes.
splitting out wide, making it single back formation, and then all of a sudden the defense is just all out of sorts
It'd be sick.
because you're considering him a lead blocker, and then all of a sudden is he
Right.
running a route?
They're
And then
so
if
gonna
you
do
put him
that.
on some
And then they're
release
just gonna-
routes,
And then
oh
they're
my
gonna
God.
and then they're gonna sweep. They're gonna sweep McKenzie across to his side.
and Marquez
And then
Stevenson's
they're
gonna
have
come from the other
Stevenson
side.
come the other way.
Come the other way.
Let's go.
No, but
Abel,
you
if
could
you're
definitely see
listening,
that. I will bet you $100 that is
At
in
least once.
Josh's little
that'll happen
little
His little
on
thing,
his
it's there.
wrist
on his wrist.
of plays
Yeah.
that
Yep.
he can go to, where you can split out Gilliam outside, you go into shotgun, you put Singletary there, and now you have a passing
Right.
play when they were thinking it's running.
Then they move Singletary out to the fit to be
And
receiver
then now
five.
it's 5 wide.
Right. Then it's one high safety
Right.
because you definitely don't have enough DBs on the field.
They could really
And
do
you
just
some
have them
things
all
with
run
this Reggie Gilliam
straight.
thing.
We've got it all figured out.
Everybody run a
man.
go route.
And then Josh runs.
Right.
For 60 yards.
Exactly.
Amazing.
Okay, so we're thinking Jets fans boo. Okay, so Quentin Morris is kind of a meh. If they find somebody better, good.
I think you could find somebody better than Quentin Morris on waivers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there was a report from NFL Draft Diamonds on Twitter where he said that the Bills are probably going to be one of the most active teams scouring their waiver wire just for their practice squad. Like they want to find really good guys that people cut and put them and stash them.
But I'm wondering if that means they want to load up on the best veterans out there because they are a Super Bowl contender.
Well, veterans wouldn't hit the waiver wire if they're 4 years or more.
Okay, 3-year veterans.
3-year veteran.
That's what I'm going with.
We'll take it.
But
Well, I mean, they can also fill their practice squad at any time. So like,
Yeah.
it doesn't just have to be the waiver wire.
right.
Yeah, you can sign somebody and you don't have to sign them to the 53. I don't believe.
Right.
I believe if any vets are cut, right, that have 4 or more accrued seasons and they don't hit the waiver wire, they could pretty much sign with whoever they want. So
Yes.
we're still gonna be scouring, and there's still a chance we could sign some vets, but we might sign them to the practice squad, unless somebody hits that like would take precedent over a roster bubble guy and could step in and take that person's place. That's feasible too, I guess. Unlikely though, depending on who's cut, I would imagine. But it'd be interesting because I think there's gonna be some. I think that we're gonna see a handful of players that had nothing to do with the Buffalo Bills this year, not through training camp.
That happens
preseason,
every
et cetera,
year, right?
That
And
end
when
up,
all this,
I
when
think
all of a
more
sudden-
so than usual. We're gonna
when you
see
look
that.
at the roster from the beginning of the season versus the end, and you're like, holy cow, I can't believe how much that changed. You
Yeah.
know? And like I feel like that happens every year, but I think you're right. I think this year they're probably going to do a lot of tinkering until they figure out what's right, right?
Yeah, I would imagine. And I would think that the positions that they'll go with, because they're so loaded at D end, I can't see them touching anything D end related, except maybe one guy on the practice squad. I could see corner. I could see, we're probably going to get to safety in a second because we haven't mentioned Josh Thomas yet.
He's the last one to mention, really, because Antonio Williams I don't care about. So
that hurt
but
my
go
soul
ahead.
a little bit. I like Antonio Williams.
That's nice. He's a
Not
likable
as
guy.
RB3. I like, yeah. There we go. I like him. I'm sad that he didn't stick. He probably will end up on the practice squad.
That makes sense. They don't have
can
anyone
see that.
else because Christian Wade is
Uh-uh.
hurt.
Yeah. He's season long too. Like that's
Yeah,
a
he's out.
wash, which
He's
is
out.
sad because I doubt that we see much of him next year.
I don't think he's here next year.
I don't think so
I
either.
don't think he's anywhere. I think he's just a
Yeah, I
nice
don't either.
story the Bills keep around so that they
I think he's
have
back across the
European-
pond,
So
but
they
he
have
will be a
Europe-
lifelong member
European
of Bills
fans.
Mafia.
That's right.
Let's talk about Josh Thomas.
Let's talk about Josh Thomas. Noah, go.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a possibility he could be brought back because
On the 53?
on Twitter, I saw that one of the possible guys that can go to the short-term IR is Jaquan Johnson. So, I mean, Thomas showed that he knows what he's doing, and he played really well next to Hamlin, and Hamlin made the roster. So, you know, Josh, I think, is kind of like Andre Smith, but he just didn't play well enough to not have him go through waivers first.
So he was player 56 or something.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah. Like it was like he was probably one of those guys where it was like, well, if we keep him, we're gonna have to like cut like
Andre Smith.
yeah. Like honestly.
Yeah,
probably,
yeah,
you know?
honest. That's
Like,
very
so,
true.
I think
I
think
definitely see that
he might
too.
be coming back.
Okay.
I see him as one of the candidates for the
anyone-
53.
Anyone on the cut list we still want to talk about because we have other stuff to move on to.
Another shout out to Bobby Hart for not making an NFL roster.
And the Bengals
he could be a
fans for-
Walmart. He
And the
could be a
Bengals fans
Walmart
for telling
door
us
greeter.
he what we were getting. They did.
Yeah, we knew the whole time. Yep,
Yep.
we saw it the first snap of the preseason.
Yep, we appreciate the Bengals warnings. So he was with the Bengals, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just making sure
Yeah.
because I remember that vaguely.
Was he on the? Do we ever look into was he on the field when Burrows got hurt?
Let's just say
When
yes.
when Burrow got hurt, he had to have.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. Speaking of Joe Burrow, he played 3 snaps.
Got a standing ovation.
Yeah, that brought him a standing ovation. So
for him.
it is good. It's good. It's good to see him back. So I'll put this up in some sort of logical article kind of thing on our site about practice squad and roster, and let's talk about injuries. So Noah and I were going through this, and we think there's 5 guys who will go on short-term injury up to 5. And that's Isaiah McKenzie, Marquez Stevenson, Juan Johnson, Tommy Sweeney, and Harrison Phillips. Which
So
means
what's
they can bring 5 guys in
Yep.
short term.
Reed Ferguson is a given. That's happening. So we got 4
Right.
left.
4.
Josh Thomas, I think, is a good one too. So I think that we have 3 left.
Yeah, if Jaquan Johnson's one of the ones who's out.
Yeah.
Yep. So
Then-
that leaves us with 3.
Hollister.
Probably, yeah.
Hollister I can see as well. So that leaves us with 2. Do they bring back Davis Webb as QB3 and do the whole COVID quarterback thing again?
They could, but I think if they did COVID quarterback, I honestly think they would do Fromm again.
Yeah.
Because he had experience being
Yeah.
kept to himself and stashed in the closet.
Yeah,
Right.
basically.
Been here before.
Right. You've lived under the
He
stairs.
will,
Your little Harry Potter there or whatever,
Cam Lewis?
Yes.
Nah, but see, he would have to clear waivers to be brought back.
Well, let's assume that if he does, he's in. How about that?
Let's assume that if he then that leaves us with 1 more open spot.
Did you say
And-
Hollister or Hodgins?
We didn't say
said-
Hodgins.
We didn't say
We
Hodgins.
said Hollister.
Okay.
But we did say 2 receivers.
All right.
We did say
But do you need 8?
Mackenzie and Stevenson. Mackenzie and Stevenson would be out,
Ooh, yeah. If those 2 are out, you do need a 6th.
right? So is it? But here's the question, though. You don't have a kick returner. So
Brandon Powell.
do you sign John Brown?
Ooh, I knew that was coming.
To be your sixth receiver / kick
Who-
returner.
Is he fine
Who's
with
gonna be the
that?
odd
Is
man
the
out?
question.
Well, he wanted cut because he thought that he wasn't good. Like he wanted cut from the Raiders. And I don't think he was gonna make that roster. I don't know how Zay Jones was, and he wasn't. But
Well, clearly he
Really?
wasn't as high on the depth as he thought he was or felt he should have
Yeah.
been. And if he comes here and you were telling him he's going to be 6th round,
he didn't look the
6th
same after he
wide
came
receiver.
back at the end of the season last season. He didn't look like the same John Brown. So I'm wondering if he's lost a step that just never
Maybe.
came back after the injury, and like the Raiders saw that and was like,
So do you think
because
it's
his
Sims or
speed was?
Powell?
I think it could be Sims or Powell.
Or another returner out there?
Like who did they have anyone else doing returns?
Not the Bills.
They just let the 2 guys. They just let McKenzie and Stevenson duke it out, right? No pun intended. Shout out to Duke Williams.
I think they had one other person do it. Breida. But-
Ooh.
That's
Ooh.
in a pinch because you don't want him getting hurt.
CJ,
Yeah.
what would you do? Would you bring back Sims or Powell, or would you go to the board?
Sims or Powell.
Or someone else.
Yeah, go to the board.
Yeah.
6.
It's tough. I mean, what else are you really going to get right now? That's going to be, I don't know. It's tough for me to sit here and say that you go to the board and try to hit on something that's a diamond in the rough, which is not very easy to do. So it's like, if you feel
What if
like,
you were just signing somebody to be a returner, though?
To just
would
be a
that part
returner.
matter there? Like you're just looking for a returner. Would
That's
that
kind of
part
what
matter?
I'm thinking too.
Because you're gonna have your receivers back in McKenzie and Stevenson once
Yeah.
they go
At
through
some
3 weeks
point.
of short-term
Yeah.
IR. Yeah. So if they both even go, I'm not sold that
Stevenson.
Stevenson will have to.
Right. There's questionability about that.
Well, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
Again, people aren't in the room, so
Yeah.
Well, if you're just going to say that about everything, then why have a podcast?
I just mean
We're
Well,
not
we're
in the
not
room.
we're not there, so
Hey,
we don't
guys,
know anything.
guys.
No, because I mean,
I'm in the room.
why are we speculating?
You are in the room.
I'm in the room. Hold on, let me ask. Hey, Sean.
I love this. You got to do this more often.
He's busy.
But like,
He's
you know
in
what I
his
mean? Because like,
doors
I didn't even
closed.
think Stevenson was going to play
Convenient.
last week.
The door's
Yeah.
closed.
I thought you were really there,
come on.
I thought you were really there, Paul.
He's meeting with
Thanks,
somebody. I didn't
dude.
see who went in the room. I wasn't paying attention. I was talking.
Maybe
to
it
you
was
guys.
Brandon Powell.
It was probably. It might have been Brandon Powell.
I mean, do you bring back Powell because at least he saw the field? So like, if you wanted to like,
Well, so did
randomly-
Sims.
Yeah, but I mean, if you wanted to randomly throw Powell into like a set.
Oh, you mean as a receiver?
Yeah, because I mean, let's say you
That's
lose
true.
both
He
McKenzie
knows-
and Stevenson.
Powell knows the offense better than
Then
Sims
Sims
would.
does.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I mean, the reason though why I keep coming back to that is like I think Bean and McDermott has shown is that they would rather keep players who know what they're doing in their schemes
Yeah.
than go and sign somebody to come
But I
in.
think it just went. The question went. I mean, because wasn't Steven Sims kind of like the scenario where we were just saying he's a returner
yeah,
and
but
you're
I think
signing
it's-
him to just be a returner?
I think it's different in the preseason, in my opinion.
Yeah. No, I mean I'm saying the same thing, but I'm also saying
But yeah, at the time we were like, oh yeah, totally just a returner.
Right.
I think if you don't lose McKenzie and Stevenson, maybe they just sign Sims like just in case. Like maybe Stevenson, maybe McKenzie goes on IR, but Stevenson doesn't, and then maybe Stevenson starts the year like kick returning or punt returning and does really bad in one of those. It's like a bare minimum you can like throw Sims in there for that, But I think if you're losing both of them, I think Powell might be the better choice because Powell at least saw the field in every single game.
that's a good point. I think that might be a good way to look at it. If Powell doesn't catch on anywhere else,
I would
I
agree
mean,
with
if you
that.
needed to throw him in there for like a 4 wide receiver set or something,
right? If someone goes down if Beasley goes
Right.
down and somebody else goes down, and you
or
need
like
to-
Davis just comes up with like a stinger and you need him to just go in there for a couple plays,
Right.
like you could at least do that.
with Powell.
Yeah.
All right. Good call. So, do we think we're good losing Phillips for 3 weeks? I mean, they're not gonna need to fill a defensive line spot.
No, I really think that I really think that Vernon Butler is just going to be keeping his seat warm.
What if Butler
Because-
like explodes? Do
He
you?
has to do that first.
He had a good season last year. I mean, he earned another contract.
Didn't they restructure his contract?
Yeah, whatever. Again, I bring the stats.
So he got a pay cut.
He got more money now.
Okay, that's fair. That's a fair statement. They did do that. They gave him a little bit more money up front
Yeah,
to get the cap number down.
yeah. So he played well enough to stay on the roster. I don't know. I mean, it's a big save. Maybe if someone with a high number maybe if someone with a high number goes on waivers or something, they cut Butler and grab that player, whoever that player is.
It's possible. I'm officially considering Butler one of my fringe guys. He'll
Okay.
either be inactive a lot or he'll like until something happens, depending on the IR moves. Butler's 52, 53 on the roster to me. Like someone like DeMar Hamlin is going to last longer on this roster than Vernon Butler.
Hamlin's
and I'm
not
just
going
saying that because
anywhere.
he's
I
a
don't.
roster.
I don't.
Yeah,
I don't know why people like. Wasn't that on Twitter today? Like, yeah, Hamlin
lot.
made the roster, and I was
you're
like,
shocked.
"What round pick
What?
was he? What wasn't he like a fifth or fourth?
Fifth.
Yeah.
He was after Spencer Brown, wasn't he?
I have to check.
I mean, there's only like 4 guys who were drafted that weren't kept, right? If we're Bean or whatever, since maybe I'm wrong, but
Yeah.
so that should show that he likes to keep his
Sixth.
guys.
Hamlin was 6th round.
Who knew? Huh.
Hmm.
None of us.
Who knew? We just watched the whole draft.
Literally. I knew it was
Um,
later round. I just thought it
So
was
same
4th for
round
some
as
reason.
Wild Goose, actually. Then,
Mhm.
that's interesting. I just thought he was earlier and better.
Yeah, right. I could have sworn.
Now
it was
that he's a
4th.
6th round pick, he's worse. So,
Well, that
I think it's
really
still though
really
he
awful
played well.
quarterback that used to play for New England was a 6th round pick.
Oh yeah. Who's
His
ever
name
heard of that
escapes
guy?
me.
Yeah.
I can't
yeah.
recall the name.
Chris
Must not be
Hogan played
popular.
lacrosse.
Ron Shady, I think.
Ron Shane. Is that what it is?
Bomb Trady?
Yeah.
I can't remember.
Ron Shane. Nice.
Bomb's crazy. What?
Nice.
Whoa.
Too soon. I was talking about Josh Allen bombs.
Oh,
That works. So Noah had to step away for a second, but so I think we've beaten the roster to death. Do we agree on that?
yeah.
Okay, so a couple things then. So it came out today that the Bills want a 60,000 seat stadium outdoors.
Most of the seats would be covered.
Oh,
Oh, really?
I was so hot the other day at that
Yes.
game, dude. Oh my god. Give me some
I didn't
Not
go.
all seats.
give
We
me
ended up-
some shade.
We ended up not going because it was so
So
hot.
would you say that if there was covering over the seats that made it to where there was shade and it kept you from the elements, but wasn't enclosed, like it's going to be an open stadium, but if
Mhm.
there was,
So it'll
like
look
an
like a soccer
overhang.
stadium or
The
something.
rain
Kind
or
of,
the
yeah.
snow doesn't like hit
That would
you.
just-
Yeah.
and the like the sun just beating down on your head in the middle of August or end of
Yeah.
August when you're
And
a
no
preseason
snow
game.
shoveling. Like
Uh-huh.
ideal.
At least in most of the
stands.
stands wouldn't
And
need
then the
shovel.
snow falls on the field still.
And then we still get that experience.
Okay.
To me, that part
Yeah,
seems
yeah,
like it's
yeah.
a win-win because
Mhm.
you're getting some improvements from a fan experience perspective of, hey, if it's raining, I'm not like I don't gotta be all up
It's
in a
gonna be
poncho.
cold
if it's
and
so-
wet. Yeah.
Yeah, like I just gotta be
That's the
cold.
worst. Like October
Yeah,
football,
no,
October
100%.
football games are the worst.
Yeah.
Like that's actually the reason I gave up my season tickets was because if they had 3 out of 4 games in October, then
You were miserable.
I
Yeah.
was miserable because every single game was awful. It was
Yeah.
15 degrees colder inside the stadium than it was just outside the stadium, just because of the way the winds work and everything. But they
Yeah.
need to keep that
People-
kind of competitive advantage with
Which is
their
why
stuff.
if you just cover some of the seats, and not all the seats, they said it's just gonna be most of them would be
Yeah.
covered to some extent. You still would have the elements playing a factor in the game, and I
Right.
got to imagine that those winds would still be whipping around.
I would hope so.
Yeah,
I would definitely
Oh, yeah.
hope so. So
I don't know if anybody heard this, but Josh Allen threw a football into the eye of Hurricane Ida, and nobody's seen the ball since.
wow.
Yeah,
I
rumor has it it's what made Hurricane Ida just fall back into a tropical depression.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh, nice. Josh
my
Allen
sources
is
in
a
New Orleans told me.
savior. Yeah.
Yeah.
So no. Okay. So are we upset about a 60,000 seat stadium?
I have one negative drawback to that, and that's going to be this. We have waited for over 20 years for a team like this. We have filled 72,000 seats season in and season out, regardless of what our record was, regardless of what the roster looked like, because we're diehards through and through. So to stick with the team through all of that, and now to tell 12,000 of us that, hey, guess what? You're not going to be able to go. There's going to be
Go ahead.
12,000 less people that can go. It stings a little bit because we finally have a good team.
It also means higher
Um,
ticket prices.
And it's going to mean the people that do go are paying higher prices. So for the people that do get to go, for the 60,000 that get to go, it's going to cost you more. And there's going to be 12,000 less of us. But with the acoustics of a new stadium, Todd, like you brought up earlier when we were talking about this before the show, like acoustically, it still could sound just as good as it does now, if not better. And to sound like it's even more people. So from that standpoint, I get it. I just think it's a shame that we're going to have less fans in the stadium to experience a winning team when it's the same fans that have stuck around for the last 20 years that are going to be the ones affected by that. You know what I mean? Like all the diehards that have just been there through everything. It sucks to feel like now that we finally made it here, fewer of us will be able to see that. Now, here's the thing. I think we win 2 Super Bowls before the stadium's even built. So
right, 2027. So how good is the team going to be in 2027? I mean, Josh Allen will be past his. He'll be like 31.
He'll still
or
be
something.
in his prime.
Yeah,
He'll be 31.
He'll be in the last year of his contract, right? They'll
Ready to sign
open
another
this.
mega deal.
They'll open this new stadium,
And he'll have left.
and they'll no. It'll be the stadium. It'll be the stadium that Josh Allen built, right?
Yeah.
And then they'll make all this money and from the new stadium and the new boxes and all of that stuff, because I mean the boxes are where the real money is.
Yeah.
And they'll be able to just lock up Josh for the rest of his career.
I
Oh, actually,
expected you
hold
to
on.
go negative with that, and I'm proud you didn't.
Hey,
Oh, thanks for being proud of me, son.
Coach, did you reserve the seating for the game day 716? We got our booth. All right. Cool, thank you. Yeah, Sean's hooking it up.
Okay.
Oh, there's nobody else with this exclusive content that you have right now, dude. I know.
Nobody else is filming
Bar
from the
none.
locker room.
Yeah,
Like,
dude. That's,
I got exclusive access.
Right. So here's what Noah has the official statement from the Bill.
What? No, this is not the official statement. This is just a counterpoint.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, so it's just a counterpoint to really, I guess, the 60,000, 60 to 62,000, whatever. Is that, we
Bring it. So voice, please.
we currently have one of the smallest markets in the league with one of the higher capacities in the league and among one of the lowest market population to available seating in the league, which is a recipe for economic disaster. I mean, that might be a stretch, but
Strong
still.
Look at the Sabres, though.
Well, this looks like this was a Facebook comment. So
We'll continue. Continue.
But
I think I know where
maybe
you're going.
not
with
in the
this, and
short
it's a
term
good
because we
point.
are all back on the wagon, but this is a 50-year investment at minimum with an entirely different economy to when the current stadium was built. Since 2000, there have been 9 stadiums built with 70,000 seats or more. 7 of those 9 are in the top 10 markets in the league. So in reality, yes, you're losing 10 to 12,000 seats. But our stadium should have never been that big to begin with.
Well, it should have because when you started, Buffalo had more people.
Right.
Buffalo was a bigger market in 1960.
Though this is the first year in Buffalo's history where the population actually went up.
I know. It's not that. Well, it's not the first year. It's the first census.
Yeah.
if you're talking about the city, I would say that the surrounding areas have been going up for a while.
Well, the census didn't say that though.
Well, like, are you talking about the city or the city and the surrounding suburbs?
Everything.
Greater
Greater
Western New York, I
Buffalo,
guess?
Greater
Okay.
Buffalo region or whatever you would call it. Yeah,
Okay. Wow.
it's the whole. Yeah, it's everything looped in. Everything first time in the past 4 or 5 censuses, which would be 50 years or something, that population went up.
So I'm trying to find the exact stat right now, but I thought that Noah was going to go towards something else in regards to the stadium. So bouncing back to the fact that the Buffalo Bills are a small market team, a 60,000 seat stadium would make us the second smallest stadium in the entire NFL. However, when you take into account the Nielsen ratings of a particular market in which the Bills, I believe, just over 600,000. So a 60,000 or 62,000 seat stadium is approximately 9.7% or something to that effect, between 9 and 10% of our entire potential market, because they consider the market of all the people in Buffalo that own TVs, et cetera, et cetera. So they've figured out the numbers. But a 60,000 seat stadium in Buffalo, being the size of the market that we are, would make us, from a per capita perspective, like the second highest stadium, just from that standpoint. In,
So
we
it
would still
right-size
get
us.
it rights the ship when you put it into perspective of market size compared to stadium size, and then figure it out that way. So like a market like Dallas that has millions of people in their
3.5 million
market.
people. Yeah.
Yeah, the percentage of fans that can attend those games is much smaller than it would be in Buffalo. 1 out of every 10 Bills fans in Western New York will have a place at the stadium. That's not the case in Dallas. That's not the case in Los Angeles. Like,
It's a good point.
1 out of 100 fans can go to a game in those markets. So from that standpoint, it kind of makes sense.
Yeah. That's a good point. That's a very good point.
Yeah, I think I was on the track. He just
Oh,
No, I
nailed
think
it.
that's
yeah.
what they were referring to when you read that, whatever that statement was.
Yeah, that's because it's exactly what went through my mind.
Yeah,
That's
they
exactly
were
where I thought you
referring
were
to
going.
in that statement. I mean, they at first in the beginning of it, I think they said you said something along the lines of like the stadium, the people around the stadium. It's not as many people around the stadium as there is in most markets, right? So
yeah.
I
Right.
think that was alluding to the fact that more people need to go from Buffalo than other stadiums with surrounding areas, basically.
I mean, in my opinion, right? Like by the time the stadium is built, like we should still be good. But if we were to keep a 70,000 seat stadium again, and we go through another drought, I think that would be. I don't think you're gonna. If they go through
I don't
another
know.
drought like they did, I don't know if you're filling the stadium like you did.
Here's my theory on the drought. And
Because people already hate the Pagulas for the Sabres. And if the Pagulas are still the owners and we have to go through another drought, no shot you're filling the stadium like they did.
I don't know. Well, there's a shot, but the shot is that the tickets need to be at the same price that they're at now.
Right.
Yeah.
And you can't do that.
Yeah.
You can't, even if it's a 70,000 seat stadium, you can't do that.
Well, because then if you lower tickets, then I'm going to be paying $18 for a bottle of water.
Right.
Like,
Right.
True story.
So yeah, I mean, there's a offset somewhere where you got to have it. And that suite prices are going to be
insane.
high, but
But the suite should be awesome.
But the suite should be awesome.
Like,
and the suites, I mean, you have to consider, actually Buffalo is, again, per capita, probably has more businesses who could afford suites than a lot of cities.
You could definitely have a different business for every single suite, like, being the.
Well, they do now. I mean, so.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you're only adding 10 more suites, maybe.
I bet it's more than that.
Yeah.
Hey, I was really close
Yeah.
with my percentage, by the way. It's 9.79%. I found the stat.
All right.
Nice.
That's the percentage of the market population that would be able to fill the stadium, which would make us the second largest stadium per market size in the league, behind only the Saints.
Wow.
I wonder if do the Packers count in that because they own the team?
Ooh, that's a good question. Like, are they with that stat? That's a good question. I don't know. I would imagine so, because
Who cares?
I think
Yeah, you're still paying for tickets, right?
I think
So-
the other part of the reason is that it's going to be easier to fill a 60,000 seat stadium, and the Pagulas like to look good.
Pagulas do like to look good.
they
Yeah.
do.
So
They do.
I okay, and I know people hate Russ Brandon, but he was a brilliant marketer. And that's what got the Bills through the drought as far as
Yeah.
selling tickets. And that kind of thing, because he was able to do one thing every 2 to 3 years to keep giving fans hope, whether it was trading for Drew Bledsoe or saying
Signing To.
signing Terrell Owens, signing
Mario Williams.
Yep, Mario Williams.
Mario Williams,
every
perfect
single
example.
thing. You know, and he was able to do that and keep fans going, this is it. That's the last
This is
piece.
the year.
Right.
Mhm.
You know, and that kind of thing. And he was able, and like that's the thing that Russ Brandon was able to do. And he was able to do it with the Sabres too. But the Bills got good and the Sabres went bad. And that's why you're seeing the Sabres 16,000 seat stadium now
No one in it.
gonna have 12,000 people in it probably this season. But anyway, so back to the sustainability point, 60,000 people is right sized, I think.
I mean, even if you didn't even have a full stadium, a 60,000 seat stadium with not everybody there will look a lot better on TV than even a 70,000.
That's a good point.
Wait,
too.
if we're the second, if we would be the second with 72,000, like, do we surpass the Saints because of that?
Probably.
Math,
I would imagine the
Oh.
math would be like 11%.
that hurts. Okay.
I would
I
imagine that
assume-
it puts us as number one. Like if we be number two with a 60,000 seat stadium, then with a 72,000 seat stadium, we got to be
Right.
number one.
Yeah.
That's like what, an extra 12,000 seats.
Good
Yeah.
job.
So like I would
An extra-
assume,
It's an extra, what, 20%?
yeah.
12,000 is 20% of
20% of
yeah,
16.
yeah. So it would be an extra 20%. Yeah, we've
Yeah,
got to be number
no
one
way.
in the league then. Yeah, there's from a market standpoint, we've got to be. Yeah, we got to be the largest stadium per market size in the league right now.
Definitely. Okay.
Which
Bill.
definitely
I see
means
what-
that they mean a smaller one.
Right.
I mean that what I read was right. That's not sustainable. I mean, unless the population literally booms
Right.
again.
Unless we become
So do
Silence.
they think that
Right.
very true? Or Bills Mafia from all over the country after one Super Bowl was like, you know what? They finally did it. I'm moving to Buffalo.
or people get sick of hurricanes hitting their houses, wildfires
Yeah,
destroying
no, we
their
only
houses
just have to deal with snow that turns our power off when it's
for,
negative.
for a couple hours, right? I mean, we know how to
Not
deal
14
with
days
snow.
like they're dealing with down in Louisiana
Right.
right now.
Right.
14 days
You
without
know,
power, 5 days without water. Yikes.
Right. You know, and then everyone realizes, oh, like the airflow goes perfectly around Buffalo. And
Buffalo
has-
is warming up. Buffalo is going to be a paradise in like 10 years.
It is. It's gonna be like the place to be.
Like, let's
I'm
be
s-
honest.
I'm
We'll put it out
serious.
there for any new Bills players that stumble across our show on YouTube, right? Whether it's this year or in future years, I want them to refer to this episode of the podcast and listen very carefully to this question and then everybody's answer. Have Buffalo winters gotten more mild in the last decade? Yes or no?
Oh, absolutely.
Hands down. Like what you saw on
Not the last
TV 10,
decade.
15 years ago,
Yeah.
maybe the last like 3 or 4 years.
Oh no.
Typically.
I'm saying longer. I mean, over
You
the
think it'd be-
last
it's definitely been a
20
trend.
over the 20 years, it's just gone up. I would say.
I have not had a Buffalo winter where I was like, really, like, do we really have to deal with this again in years now? Like, it's really not that big of a deal anymore.
I don't really even think about snow until December anymore.
Yeah. Like there used to be years when I was a
Late
kid,
December.
like
I don't
we go
think
back.
we're gonna pull our air conditioners out maybe till like October.
Yeah.
at the
Yeah.
minimum, because like I don't want to, because I know we're gonna get at least a good handful of 80 to 90 degree days in September.
Yeah.
I agree. The weather is not that bad up here. And I think
No,
that's
it's-
ultimately what made them decide that let's go with the open air stadium. Like, let's not lose that because it is a competitive advantage. Like it absolutely is. The indie game from a couple years back, like that, you don't win that game if it's not in Buffalo in the middle of a snowstorm. Or maybe
Here's
it'd be
the
a much
thing.
different game.
Here's the thing though. I mean, you build your team around what you have, right? So
Yeah.
so greatest show on turf, right? If you could build a team like that, I mean, imagine having no elements, Josh Allen's arm, and amazing receivers, and just being able to just wing it, and sling it. I'm not saying that that's a preferred option. The dome for me at points,
I've thought about it.
I think it's a good idea just because of what it can do for the area more than what it can do for the Bills. But
At bare minimum, there will always be wind. At bare minimum.
unless you're in a dome.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying if you're not in a dome with the roof, like even if you're not getting that much snow, and
Well, the architects need to design it so you're still getting
I'm sure
strange
they will.
weather, strange weather to give
Yeah.
the Bills that competitive advantage instead of trying to get rid
To
of
negate it. Yeah, I agree.
Right.
But that's what I'm saying. Like I don't know if you want a dome because at bare minimum you'll always have wind.
You don't want a dome in Orchard Park.
That's true. Well, yeah, they looked downtown and said it was too much money. So
Yeah.
Well, it is. it's another $1 billion.
They're right.
So
That's why they reduced the seating too. It was 1.6 with keeping the seating the way it was. Backing it to 60 was the difference between 1.6 and 1.4.
okay. Good for them.
So it was a financial
those
reason.
pagulas, those penny pinchers.
How can we make this cheaper? I know. Let's tell 12,000 fans they can't go.
Thanks. Really saving the Erie County taxpayer
But wait,
there.
let's build them a remarkable team first, and then we'll release all this information. Let's make them have hope for a good
Well,
team.
it's not going to happen next year, so
Yeah,
we'll
they'll probably be
This is
bad.
true.
we'll have more stadium talk, I'm sure, for many years to come. Let's wrap up. Okay, so what we wanted to do, we wanted to give a shout out to Jarrett Patterson
Yes.
for making the Washington football team, and basically taking Peyton Barber's spot because Peyton Barber got cut.
Is the correct way to say that though, that Patterson made the Washington football team?
Washington football team.
I think so. Because like
The
ATM
team.
machine.
How about the Washington football team roster?
There you go.
That sounds a little bit better. Yeah.
No, we would just say for making the Bills.
Making the bill. Yeah,
We
I
wouldn't
see
say
what
for
you're saying.
making the
Team.
Bills
It's the
team.
It's the word team that throws everything
that's
off.
true.
Yeah,
They need
yeah.
to change their name.
They need to
My-
change
my-
their name to.
Shout
Should've
shout
done
out
that
to my boss, by the way. The other day we were talking about the Bills in our group chat on Microsoft Teams, and I made reference to Ryan Fitzpatrick playing for the Washington football team, and his response was, well, "But what's their name?" Love
Our
it.
other shout out was who we already hit was Tyree Jackson
Mhm.
making it in Philly. Malcolm Kuntz made the Raiders roster. Another former UB and of course Khalil Mack is still on the Bears. There's a couple other UB guys throughout the league scattered here and there. A couple offensive linemen and
And
a
that guy from
linebacker.
St. Francis. is
Jake
on green.
Doliaga. He got cut.
No.
No.
The line McDuffie.
Oh,
Isaiah
McDuffie. Yeah, McDuffie. The linebacker.
Mhm.
Right. And man, we ran out of time to talk Mac Jones and Cam. And we ran
Ooh,
out
we
of
got to
time.
squeeze that in real quick. We can't not bring
we
up
ran
the
out of
Cam
time
thing.
to talk Bishop Sycamore too.
Oh, that's fresh. Can we got to hit both of these things quick. Lead it off.
Boy.
All right.
So Cam Newton was cut. How about that? Making Mac Jones the starter in New England with no backup, apparently.
It's just the Mac Jones show.
It's the Mac
It's
Jones
just the
show.
Mac- yep.
Yeah. Maybe
No
Edelman will come
co-host.
and play backup quarterback. What the heck is going on there? Like, well, two
Bill
questions.
Belichick thinks he has the next Tom Brady, and he thinks he can.
What did I tell you about Mac Jones though? What did I been saying for a year and a half?
What did he
about
say
Matt?
what
about
happened?
Cam Newton though?
Yeah.
Me?
Yeah.
That he was going to come back this year? You mean?
And do what?
That he was going to have a
We
good.
thought,
He was
you
going
thought
to.
we were getting an MVP Cam again.
That is not
Yeah.
what I said. That is not. What
Sorry, I
said.
had to. I had to.
I said that he would
CJ. Love it.
be better this season than he did last. That's all.
Hey, not playing. He is definitely going to be better
He's
than
gonna
last
be
season,
better
for sure.
than last season. by
Hey,
just
hey,
sitting the
hot
bench.
Not
take.
on the field.
Cam Newton is going to throw fewer interceptions in 2021 than he
Say
did
he
in
can't do
2020.
worse. Yeah.
So
You'll love to see it.
Were we shocked by this? What was the feeling? Like I don't
I
even know
was
what
shocked.
to feel.
Yeah.
I
don't
thought
know
that
what
they were going to
feel.
slow play. I
Yeah.
thought they would
I
slow
didn't
play it
expect
a
him to
bit
get
more.
cut, but I didn't expect him to be the starter.
Belichick just said this morning, "Oh yeah, Cam's on schedule,"
He's a team captain.
and then 2 hours later, cuts
Who
him.
is Jones or Cam?
Cam.
Yeah.
Well, he's not anymore.
No, I'm just saying, like that's what's even crazier to me.
Yeah.
Literally, like, what was his exact?
I think the COVID stuff hurt him. I think the miscommunication or whatever that he had a couple
Oh.
weeks ago. I think
That's
that
a very
opened
good
the
point.
door, and then Belichick just said, "Here it is. There's
Yeah.
the door."
I
You
think
know what I
that's a
mean?
good
Like,
point too, because Mac Jones came in that third preseason game and showed at least he can be decent.
mhm.
Against second half.
If
I mean,
let me
it's
ask you
oh
this.
no,
He
he
started
started
that game.
He started.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, and there's also been the thing of him grasping the playbook so quickly and really handling the offense well. And
Yeah.
Blah blah blah.
Mhm.
do we think that ultimately Belichick made that decision because Cam refused to get vaccinated?
No, it's an
If Cam is
economics thing.
vaccinated, does he stay?
I think
I
it goes
think Cam
back to
stays.
what CJ was saying.
Yeah.
And CJ, if you want to sort of rehate your
Reiterate.
point.
Yeah, again, when he was out the 2 weeks ago, the miscommunication, he lost time. Jones clearly made up the ground there. And then if you're running an NFL team, you have to go with the cheaper, younger version. And if it's not that big of a difference between the two, and you go with the younger guy, because I mean, if you
Fair.
think what he did in the offseason this year was a lot, like getting all those tight ends and everything, imagine what they'll do next year when you have a rookie quarterback under contract that you can do a lot more with. So the next 5
Right.
years, they'll be able to pay quarterback less and bring in other guys. It's just, it was going to happen eventually. And I think they gave the reins to Jones, and they want to build his confidence. So that's how you do it,
I agree that they should give the reins to Jones. I'm open to debate on when that should have taken place. The surprising thing for me is getting rid of the only veteran quarterback on your roster and giving the reins to a rookie with no veteran leadership to kind of be in that quarterback room with them. So unless they sign a veteran,
Would Cam have been
that's
a
that's-
mentor? I mean, that's
Ryan Horror.
They had a good relationship, him and
Did they?
Jones. Yeah.
Mhm.
But, like, it's questionable.
that's until he loses the job.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
once he lost the job, that might have changed completely, and that might have been the factor that really solidified things and made Belichick say, you know what, I'm a Cam fan, but there's clearly going to be some kind of thing.
or maybe
now.
he's just
And
not, because they sucked last year. And he may have just said, I mean, back
what?
to
That's it.
CJ's point,
And then when it comes,
this guy's good
we
enough.
can go
Let's get
cheaper.
this guy out of here.
We can be better, and Cam, again, I think you nailed it on the head, CJ, just by saying that Cam really, he broke the rules, and Belichick doesn't like that. and that's a nail in the coffin there for
Yeah.
Cam. So any place we think Cam goes,
were we supposed to be born in a
I didn't think
That's tough. Backup somewhere.
we were supposed to be born in
Probably.
where can
I
we
mean,
back
obviously.
up?
there's a lot of bad
Um,
backups. In the
I mean,
league.
Dallas is doing their due diligence. I mean, I think he would be.
Dallas
Yeah.
was one of the places I thought.
Yeah, she would be
Noah just mentioned Denver. That's not bad.
Denver's not a bit, but
You have Teddy Bridgewater and Drew Lock there. Is Cam? Newton
Yeah,
really
that's-
not.
is
Is
he
he better?
that much better than those two? I don't.
Yeah, but I mean,
think
is
so.
he
Not at this
also?
stage.
Do you just want to add a third quarterback to that mess? Probably.
Houston,
I was thinking Houston.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Washington.
That's a Houston's a really good one.
Washington is scary. Well,
Miami.
Houston's backup is Tyrod
a
though.
good defense, and he did well. in Carolina.
Houston's starter is Tyrod.
Yeah,
True,
he'll start.
true.
I mean,
Tyrod's starting right now.
Who's the backup in San Diego?
Who backs up Herbert?
Yeah,
I don't know.
because
That's
I
a
was
good
thinking
one.
of Seattle and in San Diego. Those were my other two thoughts.
They seem to hate Tua in Miami.
Chase Daniel and Easton Stick.
Yep.
But,
so
um,
Chase Daniel.
He's always supposed to be really good. I always hear things about him. Like,
He's always paid
great."
like he's the best backup in the
A
league.
great backup. Yeah.
He's like
At least he's a
the
name.
modern
He's
the
name.
modern day Sam Bradford with less talent.
With less talent. Yeah, I mean Bradford actually could play.
Yeah.
So, okay. So there are places he can go, obviously, if he wants
Yeah.
to, but he'll have to accept being the backup unless
Yeah,
Houston is dumb enough to do that.
well, I mean,
Which they are.
they are. Yeah. they're absolutely dumb enough to do that. And I think I would take Cam Newton over Tyrod Taylor.
Are you taking Cam over Tua?
Or Brissett.
I'm taking a
though.
can of worms over Tua, but that's just because I don't think Tua is worth a damn.
Are you taking Cam
Um,
over Brissett? Is really
Yes.
the question.
I'm taking Cam over Brissett.
Yeah.
I don't know that I would.
Dime a dozen.
I mean, if Brissett was worth anything, they would have kept him and they wouldn't have had to sign Cam in the first place.
Mm.
Well, he was long gone before Cam came.
Was it
Yeah,
2
he went
years or-
to. Yeah, he went
you're
to
right. It was a couple
after the
years.
injury,
Yeah.
after the luck situation
Luck
in Indy.
injury and
Yeah.
started a whole season, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
after the luck retirement. And I think that there was Patriots having Brady still and saying to themselves, okay, what can we get for
That's
Yeah.
that's what I think too, because
Hey,
they were
we
like,
got-
we're not ready for Brady to.
We got a question in the chat. Mopey Biscuit says, "Hi, I have a question for you." Mopey,
Okay.
shoot, what do you got? We'll answer the question as soon as you throw it in there. But real quick before we do that, let's talk about the team that never actually was.
Go for it.
So
I'll let-
I
I'll let
don't
you tell
know
it.
how. Okay, the long and short of it, I don't even know where to begin. There's so many directions this story goes in. Like I
think
Noah
it starts.
probably knows
It starts
the most
with
of all of
it
us.
starts with a man
Who once was a
who
man.
who had a dream.
It starts Sunday.
I have a dream.
Starts Sunday. Starts Sunday. That's how it starts.
I'll say this: my heart goes out to all of those kids because they have
The
just
kids,
The
the
ki-
actual kids,
The kids and their parents.
been,
The
yeah,
parents who
Actual kids
didn't
on that
know.
team.
The parents who didn't know.
the
And-
kids that were told they were going to be on Netflix.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So
Right,
so this
so-
is Bishop Sycamore that we're talking about. They played on ESPN.
against IMG Academy,
Against IMG Academy, which
one of
is-
the top-rated high schools
In the nation.
in the nation.
They're considered the top high school in Florida, at least.
Yeah.
If not the South. Well,
I mean, if you want to make it
Southeast.
to the NFL, IMG's Academy, one of the places
IMG
you go.
is yeah. And basically this guy who's not even a real coach, from what I understand, created a school, a made-up school 2 years ago. And it just created a football team, a high school football team out of players.
Right?
And a group of like, oh, who do we got?
That's Darcy.
Go Bills.
I'm sorry. She's just hanging out. Keep going. I'm
No.
listening. I'm
Very good.
listening.
No. I would much rather have the kids around.
Right?
We're going. She wants me to go on a trampoline with her. All right. She's just,
All right.
oh, you're
All
bothering me
right.
to get on this
Okay.
trampoline right now.
So the long and short of it is this guy scammed a lot of people by
He owes-
creating a football team
He owes over 500,000 in loans and like
From
donations.
banks.
Yeah.
Like
Is-
he has an active arrest warrant. He created a fake school that has a fake address that's literally a house. He tried to do another school before this called like the Christian
The
something.
Church of Faith.
Yeah, Church of Faith, which was supposed to be this Christian school and was with all these charitable organizations. And you went to those organizations, they had no idea what the school was. No
They didn't
idea
know
who
that
this
they were
guy was.
related to the
Yeah, he
organization.
had no idea he was using their name. Then he creates Bishop Sycamore, which literally stands for BS, and is able to trick ESPN by telling them he has multiple players who have Division I offers and all these great guys, and shows them he had made fake recruiting profiles for these players. There's a fake website that doesn't work.
yeah, they got shut down.
It got shut down
Like-
when this came out. Yeah.
And most of these players were not close to high school age. They were junior college dropouts.
They were
or
19 and
high school
20.
dropouts.
Yeah.
And it was just a fake team. They didn't have enough jerseys for the players. They didn't have enough pads. The kids were literally passing helmets back and forth to each other. And the worst part about it was the Friday before their game on Sunday, they had already played a game
3 days earlier.
3 days earlier.
And
Had
no
already
one
played
was
a game,
aware except for Bishop Sycamore,
which
basically.
lied.
They're
and said
still
they-
scheduled to play another
This
game
was
this week,
their
by the way.
That's fantastic. I hope they televise it.
I do too.
And then the best part about the televisation, first of all, is that this gets through ESPN. This gets through the marketing company that sets these games up.
Every single
This
year.
this is the same marketing company that found LeBron James, found Tim Tebow in high school.
Yes. That's how they
So,
started, was
that's how- right.
by finding Tim Tebow
And
and
LeBron.
televising the Tim Tebow games.
Mhm. And they televised the LeBron games. And then so ESPN trusted these people to put these games together consistently. So no one did verifications on this. Nobody. They just
No
took
one.
this coach's word and televised the game. Then in the middle of the game, the announcers literally say, yeah, we can't find. So we looked it up and we can't find any of these players in the national athletic database that you have to register for to get recruited.
And they kept going.
And then they
kept
played the rest of the game and lost 58-0.
they lost 58-0, but the announcers kept going. They started just laying into everything. And the announcers were like, if this isn't just that we can't find them, they're like, this is unsafe.
Yeah, they're like,
To
they have
have-
no record of the school.
Right.
They have no record of anything.
Yeah, they were getting destroyed from like the first play.
Right.
Like they just were just I watched that video and it was just
So bad.
destroyed. I was like,
They had-
whoa,
They had a
it is
blocked
unsafe.
punt. Like,
Right. They and they said that the guy who was their coach didn't call plays. He just basically said go play. And
well, he got fired. So
well he but he didn't. He was their athletic director who didn't pay any bills and made the parents pick up bills when they didn't expect to pick them up. All of this kind of stuff. I mean, it's the craziest story for this to get, like you said, for this to get through one of the biggest, like
Paragon.
to get through
Paragon
Paragon marketing, which is one of the biggest.
The guy who runs this for ESPN is the vice president of sales for Billboard.
Billboard
God.
magazine. Oh, Billboard.
Billboard magazine, yes.
Yeah, Billboard, like music charts and all
Yeah.
that stuff. So, I mean, so you can see how this obviously got through a lot of people without a lot of
A lot of people
Noah,
without
without
a
a lot
known.
who should have.
No, if you
tackled
get us in
this.
contact with that guy, I think that we could just hand him a blank CD and tell him there are 16 tracks on this disc that the four of us created. It's the Gameday716 soundtrack, and
That's right.
it's got over 1 billion listens on Spotify.
Yeah,
Perfect. Like,
perfect.
so
And-
wild.
Noah's already got his jersey on. We're starting a football team, and we're going to be on ESPN next week. Check us out
Yeah.
at 7:00 Friday
Right.
night.
I'm just gonna go get 22
I'm
people.
number
I have 4
716.
in here.
4.
Like,
With the kids too.
all right.
As long as I got the starting tight end
Who
job
wants
locked
next?
up.
There you go.
You do. You're tight
I'm
end
gonna
1
say
and
that
tight
we
end
all
2.
have offers from like Alabama and Clemson,
Yes.
but only those 2 schools.
Alabama and
those two.
Clemson, just those two.
Yeah. Both
Nobody
schools
else.
offered every player on our team.
And
I mean,
Buff
can
State.
we
Well,
can
like,
we
listen,
make
but-
the you know the other argument of like do you think it has anything to do with him trying to help the kids out, or is it primarily just for his own gain and his own benefit?
I can't see him. I have a hard time believing that he had any charitable bone in his body to try
Yeah.
and do
Yeah,
this.
I feel like he duped them from the onset, and they probably found like there's probably players on that squad right now that are finding out about this today because they were
Oh, there
duped
were.
that hard. Yeah, like they're like, wait, what?
The Athletic talked to a dad whose son almost played on the team, and they didn't do it because it seemed so sketchy. And then I saw another report of a kid who actually did play on the team, and he was like, and he dropped out of his school, his high school, to go to this team, because he was promised to be on Netflix. You know, he was
Yeah.
gonna get those offers. He was gonna do that, and they lied. He just lied to him and his mom and said all this good stuff just to get him on the team. And like
Awful.
the other part of this too is like, even though that they played a game that Friday, that's unsafe too, but they're also playing against like every single one of the defensive linemen has an offer from Alabama. So like those kids
At
have to
IMG.
be at IMG, right? So like those kids have to be at least 6'5", 330, and you're going them against guys
Who are
don't
100
probably
pounds
know what
less
they're
than them.
doing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Like,
that's
it's
so
all
awful.
it's all brutal. And
I
that's
hope he
where-
stubs his toe every day for the rest of his life,
I think he's going to jail.
and I hope he stubs his toe there too.
in jail. Yeah. But it's a terrible and hilarious story.
it's hilarious
de-
because they got
depending-
on national TV.
Depending on
Yeah.
which perspective or which parts of the story you want to pick out, it's either awful or it's hilarious. And I guess it can be both, and we know it's gonna become a movie.
Yeah, it's gotta
Right,
be.
where's the 30 for 30? Like,
You know, exactly.
the
Yeah, I
day
don't
we
know.
got
Yeah, yeah.
duped.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, and
Amazing.
the
How did
the
one
Paragon guy, the guy at Paragon, was like, "Oops,
bad."
my bad." Like that was
Missed it.
basically his press conference. His press conference was like, "I made a mistake. I'm sorry.
And then the president,
I take accountability. We screwed up."
and then the president of ESPN goes, "Well, it's 100% on Paragon, but I guess since I'm the president of ESPN, it's also 100% on me. So I guess I take some of the blame."
He takes some of the blame. Oh man.
It's pretty messed up. I would have loved to have seen like
Actual game.
see the actual game, but I was thinking like the talk,
mean, some
the
of
talk
the
show
clips.
stuff today, like around the horn.
Yeah,
and
I mean, some of
Yeah.
the clips of that,
That
game
kind of
though, were
stuff.
absolutely hilarious. Like,
Do yourselves a favor after the show. Look up their quarterback from last year and watch some clips of him play. I swear to you, he's starting quarterback and starting linebacker, and the kid's like 300 pounds.
yikes.
Yeah.
Well, they never won a game, so
they're a building program,
Right.
so
they're up and coming.
A bridge.
yeah, yeah. So, so that's we're gonna wrap up the episode with that heartwarming story.
More of the story: don't create fake schools to have kids play
Don't
football.
create fake
Right.
schools. Yeah.
If you're gonna do it,
Fake
try to just get them
schools
on
scam people
local
out of
TV.
money.
Don't go to
Right.
Don't pay your
ESPN.
loans back.
Don't start a GoFundMe page for yourself.
Lie,
you're
lie
raising
to high school
children,
age kids.
tell
lie
them
to
this story.
ESPN.
And tell them never to do any of those things, and they'll end up good people.
And they'll end up good people. Just do the opposite. Here, read this.
You know this story?
Read
Don't
this
do that.
article.
Don't ever do that, and you're a good person.
Read this article. Do the opposite in the rest of your life, and you're good. So we appreciate everyone who stuck around. We appreciate people who popped in and said hello. Did we ever get Limp Bizkit's Moby Biscuits question?
No.
Okay.
Biscuit.
It came in.
Yep. Yeah, we got our question. What strategy should you be using for the draft to get the players you want, and how many extra players should you have for DE and quarterback?
So
I
this
think
is
that's a
about
fantasy
our
question.
Our
How?
fantasy draft.
How is a D? What did he say?
This is
How's
a-
a
how many
DN?
extra
Did he
players?
say something about defensive players?
Yeah, there. You guys better
There's
look at the
defensive
rules
players.
before.
Yeah,
before,
we got quite the draft coming up tomorrow.
You better look at the scoring rules and everything before you
Oh, great.
go to draft. So everything's a little bit different than your normal fantasy league. We'll tell you that much. So
Interesting.
tomorrow's going to be fun. We do have a starting offense and a starting defense. So
Oh yeah, we're all the way weird.
it's
I'm
awesome.
here for it.
It's
I'm
awesome.
here for it.
Yeah.
It's a super fun league. We're gonna have, you guys will have fun in it. Waivers are, there's no waiver date. So if a player gets hurt at 2:00 on Sunday and you're near your phone, you can pick up their backup right away.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Um,
do that.
Yeah, I mean, there's
I
a
do
lot of
that.
there's a lot of things
like
about
that.
our league
I'm a waiver hound.
that are really fun. The least fun part is that people don't make trades, except for me and Noah.
I
But-
might get down with some trades.
Well, yeah, that's why we asked you to join, because you seem like a mad trader to us. So, what he does?
A mad trader.
Mad trader. What? Like we are?
I thought you were making a point.
No, we like to trade.
Mad Hatter joke.
Mad Hatter joke. Okay, I guess we could go there. I hate Alice in Wonderland.
This is how you know the podcast is almost finishing up here.
it's off, it's
Yes,
just off
yeah,
the
seriously.
wheels.
Yeah.
Let's talk about random.
Yeah. Just throw stuff out there.
Yeah. So, thank you all. We'll talk fantasy football next week once we have our draft. We were thinking of taking it live, but we're not gonna do that. Especially since it's your guys' first time, and seems like you need to look at the rules a little bit. Also,
We won't put that pressure on you guys.
we won't.
I'm just
put
gonna
that-
draft whatever you draft. So
We won't put that.
whatever you do,
that
I'm doing it
added-
after you.
Well, you may not pick until the 4th round. So, not kidding.
That's
So-
insane.
You just have to wait around and see. The draft order is not up yet. So right now it just looks like a normal snake, but we do not have a normal snake draft. It is anything but.
Oh, I'm about to look at these right now.
Oh yeah, same.
You can look at last year's
You better
draft.
put the draft order out like before the draft tomorrow.
Hey, last year it got screwed up, remember? And we had to push the draft back an hour because I had to do the draft order
Yeah.
again because it got screwed up.
Yeah.
So
Don't do that this time.
okay, well, just tell my boss to give me some time.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll message Mike for you.
For me to just message Mike and let him know, and that I need to put the draft order together. So I actually have to go to work. Holy cow. So that's the end.
Okay.
Um, And
This is actually the guy.
this is the actual end.
Oh
We're
my
gonna
god.
next week.
You just looked at the rules.
Welcome.
Welcome
This-
aboard.
I just
This
got
will
to
be-
the
I-
roster.
not
I didn't
kidding,
even get
though,
to the
this will be
rules yet. I
most
got to the
have you-
roster.
This would be the most fun you've ever had at Fist.
This will be.
I'm
This
putting
will
money
be.
down on it.
Yeah. It's gonna be a good time. We
Awesome.
agreed on. Well, we didn't agree across the league, but $50 seemed to be a good consensus for everybody.
Yeah.
So if we're all good with that, then we're gonna do that. Next week, we have things to talk about. We have the fact that Jojo Siwa and the Kardashians are neighbors. We have the fact that we have to talk about whether Taylor Swift and the Kanye beef is actually real or not. We have to. Noah is gonna give a rundown of Donda, a review of Donda. We're gonna talk again about Ricky Martin's acting career, and then we're gonna give a Bills preview probably.
Maybe if there's time.
If there's
we have time.
So,
And we might talk about sports.
yeah, maybe
Possibly.
and we'll
Yeah.
talk about our fantasy league. So yeah, it'll be fun. If you guys have questions about the league or whatever, just send them to the text and we'll go from there. I'm gonna end the Zoom meeting though, or the YouTube sharing, so people are gonna stop that. And